Hey HTDA and welcome back to Incremental Week. This time around I have another idle game for you, which is anything but idle. I don't know why people keep putting idle in the names of games which are completely not idle at all. It is very much, however, an incremental game, and it's really fun, it's really cute. It is also not free, it's just $6 I believe, but there is a free demo if you want to try it out, or you could just watch this video to see if it's something you might like. So let's dive into this nice little cute relaxing game. As you can see, we have a giant wok over here and a seed landing that we can start watering in order to go grow it into a tree. This tree will have fruit that we can harvest, and the harvested fruit is going to go right into the wok and hopefully get us a lot of money. Now, as you can see, different fruits are actually combining, or I should say the same fruits are actually combining into different fruits that are of a higher tier. And you can see that list on the top left, and basically the higher things are on the list, the more money you will get in return. Now, we do not want to keep harvesting everything by ourselves, so if we zoom out a little bit, we can find the town hall over here. This will allow us to buy some houses, and the first house, as you can see, will pop out this little dude, and it will follow your mouse cursor around if you keep it close. If you go a little bit further away, it will just start wandering off by itself. And the main thing is that it will try to find the nearest tree and then go and harvest that on our behalf. Now, of course, this one dude by itself is not going to cut it, so let's get him some more friends that we can then also just gather up and guide, or we can just have them wander around by themselves and find the nearest tree. Now, what is interesting about this game is that you don't have to water the trees by yourself either. As soon as it starts raining, as you can see it's raining right now, the watering bar will fill up and the trees will pop up all by themselves. You can speed up the process if you want, but it will come up by themselves. And that's actually a core mechanic that you should keep in mind once we progress. Now, as you can see, this tree has better fruits. It's actually considerably better. And the basic mechanic is the further trees are away from your wok, the more valuable, at least the higher the probability is that they will be more valuable as a result. So we kind of want trees to spawn as far out as we can get them, but for now this is what we'll have to work with. Let's get some more houses going, some more people in those houses, and gather them up and get them to the correct tree. You can also see the message popping up now that we are trying to stay above a 400 per minute threshold, and if we manage to do that, we'll unlock a new mechanic. That shouldn't take too long though, but let's talk about a couple of other mechanics as well. You see these little bulbs on the floor? If you press Ctrl, they will pop up a little bit more visible, and those are actually flowers that we can unlock by just like hovering over them. And if we unlock several flowers in a row, we get more and more money. So you kind of want to chain them together in order to get the bonus up as high as you can get it. I'm not sure how high it goes. I think it's to 8. Let's try that out. Yeah, it's stuck at 8 now, but that's a lot of money gained for a very little effort. Okay, so we just were able to keep the threshold above 400 per minute. It dropped it back down now, but it was up there long enough. And that means they now have a ritual coin unlocked, which brings us to kind of the end of what would normally be the tutorial. And oh, there's another mechanic. Let's hit that mole on its head and get another $100 for that. But yeah, we have a ritual coin now. This will allow us to perform a ritual, and the ritual is to sacrifice our colony to access the technology tree. Is that a little bit cruel? Yes, but it's the price of progress, so we're going to do it anyway. And look at that maw in the middle over here. We throw in all our people just like that. And then based on how much money we made, we get a certain score. Right now it's not that much, but the main thing is that we get a single glory coin. Now, the further you play, you don't need to kind of reset straight away. The more you get in terms of score, the more coins you get. And you can spend these coins on upgrades. These are upgrades that make your people better, that make the trees better, or your actual mouse cursor. For now, I'm going to go with this pathing upgrade that will allow me to make paths that my colonists can follow. We then get back into the game and start all over again. Every now and then your little dudes will start pooping, and they will poop on the path mostly, and you can use that poop to hover over it and start fertilizing your trees. Now you can see 2 of 5. If I would have 3 more poops directed into that direction, then the tree would actually upgrade itself to the next tier. So well, this poop is a little bit messy, but cleaning it up is actually worthwhile because it does upgrade your next trees. Once you get a couple of trees that are more valuable than others, then obviously you don't want your people to be stuck at harvesting the low level trees. What comes in handy then is the upgrade I just bought that allows me to carve a path between the trees into the direction of the tree where I actually want them to go. Now, any of these villagers that find a path will start trying to follow that, and if they encounter any tree along the way, that is the one they will start harvesting. I can do something similar. I can actually connect paths as well, just to make sure I can kind of gather them up. And as you can see, there's a couple of trees getting in the way, kind of distracting them, but most of them are now starting to farm the high level tree in the back. Thanks to some flowers, I actually already unlocked the next ritual coin, but I'm actually going to progress a little further so we can gather up some more glory. In order to do that, we're going to be building a colonist statue that will allow us to upgrade our little dudes. We can have them carry around more stuff, that's always useful. That means they have less trips back and forth. And we can significantly upgrade their gathering speed as well. So all of this will make them a lot more efficient at their jobs. With a bit of extra money, we can now also start buying houses level 2 that have 5 colonists each rather than just the 1. And of course, we have to balance these two out because the costs of these houses does increase exponentially. As we continue into the game, we'll unlock more and more buildings that will give us access to more upgrades. For example, we have the trees center over here that will allow us to do exactly what you think it does, namely upgrading our trees. We can either upgrade the base yield, which is the amount of fruits that are actually on a tree, but we can also upgrade the fruits tier. This will increase the probability of the tree spawning with more valuable fruits, and that's of course what we want. We also have the trees spawn. This is the spawn rate of trees, which you might think, well, we have plenty of trees right now, what's the problem? But as we add more and more people to the mix and more speed to them, the carrying capacity and stuff like that, we are actually, as you can see, slowly running out of trees now. So this is why we also want to start upgrading that. But before I get into that too much, I think it's time to do another ritual and sacrifice my people to the maw once again to get some more of those glory coins. For those of you that, like me, don't like clicking random things on the screen all that much, you have the lazy mouse upgrade here as well. So you will automatically hit the moles, automatically bloom the flowers, and you can turn that on and off if you want, but this is just an easy way to get free money, and you need to pay a little bit less attention to the actual game, or at least the pop-ups that happen randomly all over the map. And it doesn't take long before your little colony over here starts turning into a flurry of activity with fruits being thrown all over the place and for some reason making a lot of money. The next building on the list that we can unlock is the farmer's barn. This will allow us to get some farmers in here, and those farmers will automatically start collecting the fertilizer. The amount of fertilizer that they can carry you can upgrade, and the amount of fertilizer that you can store in here is also something you can gather up. Now, why would you want to do this? You want to make sure that you get as much fertilizer into a single tree as possible rather than just randomly spreading it around all those different trees, because you need more and more fertilizer to upgrade the tree to the next tier. So you kind of want to just dump it all on one tree, make that as high a tier as possible, and then move on to the next one. This isn't a very complex game, but there are a couple of mechanics that you need to balance out between each other. For example, as you add more and more people to the colony, the amount of fertilizer being produced will go up, and that means you will need to make sure that you're gathering enough of that fertilizer at the same time as well. When you unlock new types of buildings, you also get new unlocks in the buildings you already have. So for example, over here you can see I now have access to the fertilizer efficiency that I can upgrade to make sure that whenever I do actually put fertilizer on a tree, it just does more than it did before. Similarly, we can also start upgrading the fertilizer production. I'm not really sure how that works. Maybe they add something to the food. But yeah, as you can see, it ramps up really quickly in terms of the cost. But it's worth it because, once again, the fertilizer is the main thing that allows us to influence what we're actually producing. Now, we do want the trees to spawn as far away from the actual walk as possible. As you can see, as you're progressing, they do slowly start to spawn further and further away, which also affects the quality of the tree that we can get. However, we should not forget that this is always a good investment to upgrade the average fruit tier on our trees as well, to make sure we affect that even further. Next building on the list is the moles and hammers. This actually allows you to upgrade the value of the moles that are popping up all around the map, which is just amount of passive income because I have the auto hit enabled. but still, you can upgrade these to make more money for you as you go. So now we have 150 fertilizer. Let's dump it all on this tree over here like this. And look at that. Now it's a tier 6 tree, which is considerably higher than what it was before. Time for another ritual, so let's throw them all in the pit. And honestly, the further you get, the more people that becomes, and it looks funnier and funnier every single time. The interesting thing about these upgrades that you can get during the rituals is that they're not permanent. So let's say I want to start clicking these things manually. I just click this again and spend it somewhere else. And basically rearrange this in whatever way I like. You can only do this when you're actually on the screen, so whenever you do a ritual, so you are stuck with whatever you pick for that run, but it's pretty quick usually to get back in here, so don't worry about it too much, just experiment with what layout you like the best. What I really like about this particular game is that not only is it really easy and fun to play and it looks really good, but it also lets you kind of decide for yourself how much you want to micromanage. So for example, over here in the farmer's barn, I now have an upgrade unlocked that lets me auto-fertilize. Now, can I do better by myself? Probably. Do I want to micromanage my fertilizer? Well, probably not. So if I click this, it will automatically start to fertilize the highest available tree, but only do that when it actually has enough fertilizer to do so. So you can see this tree just got upgraded several times, and yeah, that's pretty nice. It will also not waste any fertilizer on this lower level tree over here, because it knows I have a better target for that. So I'm going to save that up until that tree is actually fully grown like it is now, and then it will start upgrading the next best target. Speaking of targets, there is a limit to how many trees you can have around. So right now we have 9 out of 10 trees, so a seed should be landing any moment now. But this is something you also need to keep an eye on. You want to have as few trees as possible while still having enough to do for everyone around, but you also want those trees to be of the highest level possible that you can possibly get them. In order to help you out with this, you might want to get rid of some low-level unwanted trees. Now, this is where the log cabin comes in. We can buy ourselves a couple of lumberjacks and upgrade those lumberjacks as we go, and these will start running around and chopping down trees. You can determine how many trees you want them to leave up, so you don't, well, ruin your trees in a way you don't want to. But other than that, they will start finding some trees to chop down, and if you don't want them to chop down particularly valuable trees, then you can set the maximum amount of tier that they can chop down, and that will leave the highest tier trees up and cut down the lower tier trees instead. The Lumberjacks are pretty decent at actually prioritizing the lower level trees, and once they do cut down the tree, they will generate some lumber. If you click the lumber, look, the wok gets some fire, and that will give us even more money than we did get before. On top of that, the value of the tree is actually not completely lost. You do get a fraction of the amount still, so the Lumberjacks themselves actually do generate quite a bit of money as well. It's worth noting that you don't necessarily need to do the ritual every single time you hit that threshold. You can just wait for a couple of those to accumulate and then do that instead. For example, you can keep going until you unlock a certain level of fruit tier, and the higher you get, the more of this special currency you get instead. You can use those to specialize your colony towards certain goals. For example, I can have my colonists do a rain dance or a sun dance, and whenever it starts raining or stops raining basically, and it will increase the multiplier I get from every fruit that's in my wok. However, if I want to go for a more dedicated type of approach, for example in combination with the Lumberjacks, I could set this to mono tree instead. Then I get a lot more money from the single tree I have, but that does mean I actually only need to have a single tree, so that means I need plenty of Lumberjacks to cut down all the other trees instead. And there is way more in this game even than that. So for example, you can build a factory which has its engineers over here. Those guys will start building towers on top of your trees to make them more efficient. The engineers first start to collect a massive amount of production materials, and then they start working on actually building that tower. Your villagers will use these towers in order to not have to move as far to get to the wok. As you can see, these guys are standing over here throwing stuff in, but anyone that actually fits on the tower will throw it all the way from over here. So you are basically optimizing the travel distance of your people as you build more and more towers. So as you can see, things get pretty crazy after a while, and that is actually just what you want from any incremental game. The fact that this is very visual makes it even more fun than normal if you're more used to kind of like the spreadsheet type of incremental games, which I've showed a couple of, then this is quite a nice change of pace. Of course, this game is not super long. It will take you about 5 to 10 hours, I think, to complete if you just play through it pretty actively, but it is quite fun and it's not all that expensive. Again, I am not sponsored to say any of this, I'm just showing you games that I personally like, and I hope you do too. Now, if you're still here, you're awesome, and I do hope to catch you in the next one.